The George Rogers Clark statue sits right across from the UVA corner, a place where hundreds of students, workers, and visitors traverse on a daily basis year-round. Depicting a native family below a towering mounted white man reaching back for a weapon, the memorial to the, quote, conqueror of the Northwest is a glaring figure adjacent to the rotunda, near where the memorial to enslaved laborers lies. The statue also exists as an accepted part of the landscape. The statue serves as a manifestation of the intentionally silenced but not erased histories within the built environment. It is part of the physical and built archive of both the city of Charlottesville, the university, and the nation. It urges the question of why is this monument accepted? What is it upholding? And whose resistance to it has been silenced? This past September, Native organizers in Charlottesville held a protest at the statue, calling the university to take it down, which the Board of Visitors committed to doing so after the protest and public pressure from the community and the recent Racial Equity Task Force. Today, though, it continues to stand there, a marker of genocide, white supremacy, and the inherent violence of the university and its colonial landscape. I live in first-year housing where almost all dorms, except for Gibbons' dorm, are named after either a racist, eugenicist, segregationist, rapist, or other violent white man. The namesake of my dorm, Albert Lefevre, celebrated the Clark statue at its unveiling, calling it a, quote, monument of pride, enlightenment, and inspiration because it makes us ever mindful of those great and heroic sons sent forth on their high missions and fateful destinies by the prophetic wisdom of Thomas Jefferson. For this project, my central question asks, how do we get a greater or fuller story of the racist roots of the built environment in our cities? Can the archive help us do this? What do we understand as the archive? What can the archive tell or show us? What can it not tell or show us? How is the archive embodied within our bodies? And how does the archive manifest in the built environment? The view from my window is UVA Cemetery, where many of the first-year dorm namesakes lie. Next to it is the African American Cemetery, where there are 67 grave shafts of enslaved people of all ages who helped to build the university. The Confederate and University Cemetery has enormous, elaborate gravestones, while the African American Cemetery lays bare on the surface level. Memory is instilled in the cemetery as a built landscape of racialized, violent legacies. A 3-minute walk from the cemetery is the Dell, where remnants of brick buildings lie and UVA's stormwater management system functions. The stormwater management system is embedded into the landscape and seems completely natural and inherent at first glance. However, it is constructed in an intentional and complex manner to control the stormwater flows from flooding the surrounding areas. The Dell and the University Cemetery illustrate how the built environment is an archive of its political, cultural, economic, and racial histories. The archive tells us, either explicitly or implicitly, the values of those who created the archive. The Charlottesville City Council minutes and daily progress reports from 1930 to 1935 show us the changes to infrastructure, but they leave out the immediate and long-term impact of those decisions, particularly its impact on marginalized communities. The goal of the Mapping CIVIL project is to utilize the archive not as the sole source of information, but as a tool to combine that information with a multitude of knowledges to create a more realistic and robust understanding of where we have been, where we are, and the possibilities of where we can go. Its purpose is also to question who we define as we. Who are the decision makers of a city? What can be done to dismantle oppressive power and decision-making structures? Remapping the archive looks like centering embodied narratives and histories from Black, brown, immigrant, and low-income communities, and communities whose experiences have been deemed untrue, unrecognizable, and insignificant. The memory and trauma we hold in our bodies informs how we navigate the built environment. The children, infants, mothers, teenagers, grandparents, fathers, uncles, aunts, sisters, pastors, and all community members experienced the workings of racial covenants and racial planning in Charlottesville and the country at large. The City Council minutes are only a brief and limited part of the archive. There are 8 instances in our class's combined data where race is made explicit, although there are countless times where race exists implicitly and inferred through location in the city. Decentering the knowledge of the archive as we know it can come through using methods such as body mapping and photo voice, which have the potential to recenter the complex knowledges and experiences of marginalized communities. The archive, then, in its many forms, can help us better navigate the complexities of our lives if we challenge its value systems and center the archives that have been left hidden in between the lines.